Henrietta lacks.
Henrietta lacks 100.
If Henrietta lacks.
Scientists know her as Gila, but her name was Henrietta Lacks. A poor African-American tobacco farmer and mother of 5 children, Lacks was diagnosed with cervical cancer at age 31. In a small room at Johns Hopkins Hospital, in the office of Dr. George Guy, Lacks was tested for various cancers and had her tumor cells extracted without her knowledge. Sadly, that same year, Lacks died of her untreated cancer, for it was very hard for women to get treatment for medical issues easily during that time. However, her cells lived on. Instead of dying eventually, they multiplied every 24 hours, never slowing down or faltering. Those cells, called Gila cells, turned out to have a huge impact on the rest of the world, saving over 10 million lives globally over the last 72 years. The use of Henrietta Lacks' cells has become one of the most popular methods of studying cells around the world. Because of this, Gila cells' effects on modern medicine outweigh the unethical way they were obtained. Some critics disagree with this opinion, stating that Lacks was taken advantage of and should have been able to have a fraction, if not all, of the money. While these statements are not entirely untrue, it was stated by the National Institute of Health, or NIH, that it was a common medical practice at the time to extract samples without informing the patient. It is presumed by most that Guy was simply taught that way. In fact, the author of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, Rebecca Skloot, stated that Guy was just trained to operate on people with those procedures.
This is Fresh Air. I'm Terry Gross.
On NPR Public Radio, host Terry Gross interviews author Rebecca Skloot about the ethics of the situation.
And another thing I found kind of shocking was the radiation treatment that she got, and I want you to describe that treatment.
Skloot then describes in detail the surgery that Lacks had done.
Was this a standard procedure then, or is this considered experimental?
Absolutely standard. Important point in the history of Henrietta Lacks. Her story has often been held up as one of these sort of awful white doctors who did these really kind of vicious treatments to her and stole her cells without telling her because they knew they'd be valuable, and that really wasn't the case at all. They were taking cervical cancer tissues from any woman who walked into Hopkins with cervical cancer.
As you can see, doctors everywhere were extracting cells from any woman who had cervical cancer, and it was not aimed specifically at Lacks. In recent years, Lacks' children and grandchildren have filed a lawsuit against Guy and his research organization. They won the case, gaining a very large sum of the money that was earned using Henrietta Lacks' cells. At first, those same cells were, just cells. It was up until Guy advertised them profusely that they began to take shape as an extremely helpful scientific tool. In fact, Gila cells were actually utilized in at least 15 successful scientific projects, from 1955 up until 2000, but the number is still growing. While 15 projects may seem like a pitifully small number, it's actually a huge success. A few of those projects include developing the polio vaccine, researching how X-rays affect the human body, and researching and creating cancer-fighting drugs. Overall, Gila cells have been used in over 75,000 scientific studies and about 20,000 successful vaccines, cures, projects, and publications since the date of extraction. Some other historic scientific publications include testing human life in space and making strides towards tuberculosis and HIV research. All in all, the discovery of Gila cells was a turning point in history because of the astronomical effects that they had on modern medicine and medical research. In order to see the bigger picture about this woman's life, the family she had, and, of course, her extraordinary cells, we need to challenge the boundaries. So the next time you get a vaccine or take pain medication, remember Henrietta Lacks and thank her for all she's done for society today.